All right, welcome back to Genius. So let's talk about objects and arrays. Let's go deep dive into objects and arrays. So this is our day 6. So today we'll talk about objects and arrays, and then we'll take a look at deep dive in objects, arrays, how objects and arrays, how they relate. Okay, and then what's an object? An object in JavaScript is an unordered collection of key value pairs. They are a collection of key value pairs, but they are unordered. So they are not arranged in an order. All right. So there's no order in the arrangement. So, but they are a collection of key value pairs where keys are strings or symbols. All right. So the keys in your JavaScript object must always be strings or symbols. All right. Values can be anything, primitive function, other objects, arrays, anything at all. But the keys must be strings or symbols. So example is, now if you see this user, all right, look at this user object. This is a user object. This user object has name, which is the key, and the value. Okay, so let's just go, let me show you in code. All right, so I would objects. Objects.js. So I'm having something like this, const, I will say person, and I say equal to. So I have created an object right now. So this is called object literal. All right. Now this is, of course, this is a variable that we have created using the const keyword, that we have declared using the const keyword. But now, what is the value of this variable? The value of this variable is an object. Remember, I told you, I don't know if I mentioned it before, that you can actually use this curly braces to create a block of code. In the if statements, in the for statement, you can use this to create blocks of code. But when you have a statement like this, when you have a variable and the variable is assigned to curly brace like this is an object. So in this case, this is an empty object. All right. So, but we said that objects are collection of key value pairs. So the first key value pair, and these key value pairs are separated by commas. So the first key value is name. Let me say name. I will say semicolon, and I will say pausing. Then, now this is a key value pair. All right, but remember, collection of key value pairs. All right, so this is one key value pair. This is key, this is a value. So if you want to add another key value pair, you would put comma and say age colon 78 comma again, whatever it could be. Do you understand? Whatever it could be. So it could be anything. So I can say black. So you can see now I have key value pairs. This object is a collection of key value pairs. This is a key. This is a value. So it's a collection of key value pairs. All right. So now if I go on now if I say console.log to log this object, so it's a person, and if I save and I say node obj, you can see what I got here. So it's a collection of key value pairs. This is the first key. All the keys are separated by comma. All right. And then the key value, the key and the value. This is a key. This is a value. This is a key. This is a value. Okay. So you can see that here the key is a string. All right. And the value is a number. All right. So you can also do something like this. This is also valid. This is also valid, ladies and gentlemen. But you just have to be careful. This is also valid. Okay? So, but I wouldn't want to take you through this now. For now, the keys can be something like variable names. All right, they can be something like variable names, and you can see that JavaScript highlighted them in a different, sorry, the Visual Studio Code highlighted them in a different color. Okay. So let's take a look at basics of object. We have properties. Every object have properties. Okay, and these properties consist of a key and a value. All right, that's the key value pairs are just the properties. Okay. Now the key types could be strings and symbols only. All right. In the object we just created, name, age, color, they are all properties. You understand? So they are all properties. So they are all key property keys. All right. So value types can be any valid JavaScript data type. So if you take a look at this, all right, this is a property. This is a property. And then this is the property key, and this is the property value. So if I want to get the property for name, I'll say person.name. So if I do this, I'll be accessing the value of this property. And if I go on, it will give me person, which is the value for this property. So name here, which is the key of the property. So the key value pair, which is this, is the property. So the property key is this, the property value is this. Okay. So the key can only be strings and symbols, but the values can be anything. Okay. Be mindful of the syntax. So object literal, how do you create objects? You can create objects using object literal. That's the first one that we have done so far. All right. Using the curly braces. So this is called object literal. The key, the value. All right. So we can also use the new object. You can use new object to create an object. So if I want to create another object, I can say const user, and I'll say is equal to new object. All right. But for me and many others, you can see that the object literal is just easier to create. So now I can now say user dot age is equal to 89. Okay, so you can now start adding the properties. Okay, so this is also valid. You can start adding the properties, user.age, user.name, user.email, whatever it is. Okay, so you can use the new object. So you can now be adding the keys. You can be adding the keys. Object dot as in the key. The key could be anything equal to the value. Okay, so you can also use object dot create. But this one will take something we call the prototype. But I wouldn't want to drag us into prototype right now because prototype is a very confusing topic and I don't think we can cover it here. Okay, so for your safety, go with object literal. For your safety, object literal is what I use. Sure, this platform that you're using now, I don't think I used the new objects to create or anything, and I didn't use prototype. Okay, so prototype is a confusing topic that we need time to deal with. Okay, so you can say object.create. So let me tell you now. I wouldn't want to explain what a prototype is, but a prototype is just like a copy. Let me put it that way, a copy. So if I want to create a copy of the person object, I can say const and I can say person copy. I will say equal to object dot create. Then what prototype am I using? I'm using the person object. So the thing is this. Because of what I have done so far, this person object is going to have all the properties of this prototype that I have used to create it. So if I now go on and say, look at it, if I say person, if I say console.log person, let me use this. If I go on now to say console.log person copy, look at what we are going to get. We are going to get the exact thing that we have in the, oh my God. What went wrong? We are supposed to have okay, wait. Person.copy dot age. We are supposed to have not an empty object. Okay, you can see. Okay, so when I say person dot age, we got the 78, and this 78 is coming from this guy. So for some reason, it gave me just an empty object. Okay, because yes, okay, I get it. I get it. All right. You see, that's why I said prototype is a very confusing. If I say person dot prototype, hmm, prototype. Okay. You see, that's why I don't want to go into this. It's undefined. So it's okay. Okay. That's why I said this is very confusing. But the thing is that person dot age, all right, we were able to get person dot age in as much as this person copy, we didn't have it created as an object. There's no age key we added here. But the thing is that it will take the prototype of this person. So let me not go into this prototype thing, please. So this can be very confusing. It needs more time to understand. So I wouldn't want to go into details. You can see when I did person copy, consult of person copy, it gave me an empty object. It gave me an empty object. Okay. So which is not okay. If I say okay. Okay, so let me do, you see, I don't want to go into this thing, but I'm being dragged. Object dot keys. Then I'll pass in the person copy. Let me see what we get here. It gave us an array, an empty array. So because these are not its own, see, I'm not, you see, I'm not talking about this. There is just a whole lot. I'm not talking about that anymore. Okay, for so that it won't cause confusion. But in our advanced JavaScript, we'll talk about prototype. We have a course, JavaScript Mastery, where we talk about advanced JavaScript. So you can look for that course or you can ask for that course. That is where we'll take time to explain all these things so that we don't get confused here. So for now, you can use this, the object literal, to create your objects, or you use this one to create your objects, okay? All right. So how do you assess and modify properties? You have already seen that we are able to access the age. Okay, so once you have your object created, all right, you can use the dot notation. The dot notation is you say the name of the object dot, then the key, the name of the key. So this is the dot notation. We also have the bracket notation, okay, for dynamic or special keys. But like I said, there will be no need for you to put yourself in this kind of mess. Okay, dot notation will be just fine. But we also have the key, the bracket notation. So let's go and see. I have this object, so I think I'll just take this one out. So I want to access, I can use the dot notation console. If I want to access the value, the properties of this object, I will say person dot. So this is the dot notation. All right. If I say person dot, the variable, the property key, it will give me, it will just return the value. So this is an expression. You see, this thing here, the dot notation is an operator. So this operator is operating on the person object. So JavaScript will evaluate it and give us a value. And the value of this expression is going to be the value of the property. So of course, it's going to give us the age. So if I run this now, ladies and gentlemen, let me clear. All right. So if I go on and run, it will give me 78. So JavaScript has evaluated it for me and gave me it. So I can also use the bracket notation instead of using the dot notation. I can use the bracket notation, and then I can use something like this. So this would also work. This would also work. All right. So now, but I wouldn't want to go into details of explaining things like this. All right. I wouldn't want to go into details because it will take us a long time to explain. But just go with the object notation. So, but the thing is this, let's imagine that let me just give you a hint. Let's say I have a variable called age. All right, and this variable value is age. So if I say person and I use the bracket notation and I use this variable age, what is JavaScript going to do? JavaScript will evaluate this expression. Remember, this is a variable. This age now is a variable. So JavaScript will evaluate this variable, get the value to be age, and just insert it inside of this. So sometimes you might want to use variables to access your object properties. You see, it's not making sense because I'm not taking time to explain it. So let's leave it for now. All right. But if you want to understand better, reach out to me. Okay. But for now, just stick to the dot notation. Stick to the dot notation. Age, color, name. Just stick to the dot notation for now. Okay. So if you want to add properties, okay, if you want to add properties to your object, what you can do is this. You can say, we already have the person object, person dot, let's say email. So this is how so you can put your email, blah, 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 blah here. Do you understand? So now you can see that what JavaScript will do is that JavaScript will check if this object, if this property key exists. If it does not exist, it will create a new property key. But if it exists, it will just change the value. So if I do console.log, if I do this, if I console.log this person object now, you can see that the email key property will be added to it. Now look at it. It has been added. But if I want to modify an already existing key, let's say I'm doing color. All right. If I say person.color and I'm changing it to this, remember, color here is black. But if I do this is now I'm doing modification because the color key already exists. So this will be modification. But if the color key does not exist in the case of the email that we did before, it would be addition, adding a property to the object. So if I do this now, we will no longer see the email, but the color will be changed. So this is modification, and this is addition. So in this case, email property does not exist. So in this case, it's going to be addition. The first one will be modification. So I will say modifying the object. And this one, I will say adding a property to the object. So if I do this now, of course, we will now have the color property will be changed, but the email will be added. So we modified the color property, but we added the email property. So you can also delete a property of the object. All you have to do is to use the delete keyword before so if I want to delete now, I will go on and say delete. I'll use the delete keyword, then I will say person, then dot. What do I want to delete? Let me delete color. So in this case, deleting an object property. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I'm doing, these are comments, okay? These are comments. So if I do this now, you can see that I will first of all clear. So you can see that if I delete the color, we'll no longer have the color object. You see the color object, the color property is gone. So you can use the delete keyword like this to delete an object property. So property attributes in JS, properties in JS have descriptors. So you can say that the properties can be writable. So when you say a property can be writable, if you say that an object can be if you say that the object property is writable, that means it can change value. Writable means that can the value change? So enumerable means will it show in loops? So is it going to be an iterable? Configurable means can it be deleted or reconfigured? So when you have an object like this, just like we have the person object, you can say object.define property. All right. You give it the object, then you add the ID, then you would add. Okay, so now look at it. There are other ways you can add property to an object. Let me show you. Don't get confused. If you get confused, forget about this. This could be advanced. Okay, so this is really advanced, but let's continue. I can go on and say objects dot add property. What's the name again? Object, sorry, define property, not add property. Sorry. Object dot define property. So what object am I referring to? I'm referring to the person object. So what property do I want to add? I want to add email property. And this email property, I can give some configurations here. I can say, okay, what's the value? The value of this property is person tt at, okay, at gmail.com. All right. So can this property be writable? So can somebody change the value? So this is advanced anyways, but I can go on and say, you see this property, I don't want anybody to change the value. So I will say the writable is false. I can also say, will this property be enumerable? So when we are using the for off loop on it, would it be accessed? I can say false. I don't want it to be accessed. Ladies and gentlemen, this is advanced. And I can also do configurable. Okay, I can even give it maybe true or false. Do you understand? So these are a couple of things we can do. So if I come later on and say, now I said that this property email cannot be writable. That means you cannot change the value. If I go on and say person dot email, all right, it's not even available here. If I go on and say person dot email, okay, is equal to blah, 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 there'll be an error. Let's see. Because I said it shouldn't be writer because it does not even appear here. For some reason, it doesn't appear here. What could that be? Let me see. Writable. Okay. I got it right now. Ba, 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 ba. Yes. Okay, because let me change this to true. Enumerable. Let's see. You can see because of I said enumerable, that means it cannot be used in a for loop. So in this case, it will not be listed. So be careful, actually. See, we really don't need this is somehow advanced, but I just wanted to understand that. But you can see that I could not change it because I said the writable is false. But if I go on and say writable is true, that of course these are the default values. These, these are, of course, the default values. If I go on and say it's writable, that means the email is going to change. You can see the email has changed here. So I'm bringing this to your notice, but don't get confused in case you don't understand it. Okay, just forget about it. If you don't get it, forget about it. Okay, it's advanced. Okay, it's advanced, and basically you might not be using it. I don't think I've used this before. I haven't. Okay, I haven't. Maybe when you start creating libraries, do you understand? That is when you can do things like this. But for now, they are not necessary. Okay, we also have something we call shallow and deep copying. Shallow copy copies only the top level properties. This can be another brain cracking topic, but let me try my best to explain to you. Okay, so you can copy objects. So you say let A is equal to this is the object. And you can see that this object also has a nested object. Yes, you can have a nested object. Now, nested object indicates that key value pairs, the value of a key, value of a of a property can be another object or even an array. So in this case, when you now say this is called spread operator, I don't know if I should just leave this. Ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if I should leave this. I don't know if you're going to understand this. Okay, look at what I'm going to do. In order to not to cause confusion, take note of the things I am skipping. All right. What is the first one? What I skipped something before I haven't forgotten. So please take note. If you want me to explain this to you, please drop it in the WhatsApp group so that I can explain shallow and deep copying to you. All right, but there's something we call shallow and deep copying, but it will take some time to explain. The spread operator, just you can take note of them. If you want me to explain this to you, talk about the spread operator, talk about the nested object, talk about the shallow and deep copying. So I'm just going to skip this, okay? So that I wouldn't cause more confusion, guys. So let's go to object methods. And moreover, you might not be needing it now. So in our advanced JavaScript, there is a way we break everything down into small, small chunks so that we can take time to explain every simple topic we are talking about. So for now, if you want to understand that, please reach out to us. Drop it in the WhatsApp group that you want us to talk about spread operator, you want us to talk about deep and shallow copying. I've forgotten the other one that I skipped. So just remind me, okay? So we have a couple of things to take a look at. Objects have methods. They have built-in methods. Okay, so when you say object.keys, when you have an array and you want to get hold of the keys of that array, of that object, you will use the object.keys method. So in this case, let me take this out. So if I want to get the keys of this person object, I will use the object.keys. All right. And what object am I looking for the key? Is the person object. So this thing will return all the keys as an array. So I can go on and say, let me store it somewhere. I can say cons is equals to keys. All right. So this will return it as an array. So if I go on and console.log the key, all right, the keys now, it will return them as an array. So we are going to see all the properties of this, all the keys, all the property keys of this object as an array. You can see. So we have key name, we have key age, we have color, and we have email. And you can see that they are in strings. They are all in strings. So these are the keys of this object. So these are the key property keys of this object. All right. So we have another one, the value. If you want to check the value, if you want to get the values, you're not interested in the keys, but you're interested in the values, you can also do something like this. Instead of keys, you can go for values. So I can say values. So it will not give us the keys, it will only give us the values. So it will be object.values. So if I go on and say, I want to print the values, okay? I'll have to clear. So if I do this now, you can see it gave us the values, person 78 black. So these are the values of the keys. So these are the kind of, of course, these ones you might need them. So in case you want to work, but of course, if you don't want to go through this, using this object.values or object.keys, if I want to loop through, I can use the for off. Remember the for us, I will say let value of person. So this will give me all the, I can have access. I can now say console. I can say now with this, now I can have access to all the values. Do you understand? I can do with whatever I want to do here. So if I go on, let me comment this. If I go on and run this, I will have access to all the values. Sorry. Something is wrong here. It says person is not iterable. Person, how? Person is an object. Okay, sorry guys. For off, person is an object. So why is it not iterable? Come on. Okay, let me comment these guys out and see if that's where this is coming from. Come on, now person is an object, so still the same thing. Really? Something is wrong, okay? Something is wrong. Person. Person is an object, so it's an iterable now. Oh, sorry, this is... Come on now, what are you saying? Person is not iterable. Really? Okay, all right. Okay, so sorry, I'm mistaking something. I can say person dot for each. All right. So okay, objects are not iterable this way, but you can get the keys and the values that will return an array, so you can iterate over the arrays. Okay, no problem. So you can see that they say that person is not an iterable, so objects are not iterable. So, but what will happen is that if I want to get the keys, I will go with this. There's another way of getting both the keys and the values. So entries, yes. So instead of me to say, okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Sorry, my bad. Person is not an iterable, but if I still want to loop through them, I can say let prop of object dot entries. So I will give it the person object. So with what we are going to get now, this value, this prop now will give us key value, will give us key value pair. So it will give us key value pair. So if I say prop, it will return key value pair for us. So I will clear, ladies and gentlemen, then I will run it again. So you can see this prop now is an array. So see, you can use the object.keys to get only the keys. You can use object.values to get only the values, okay? You can now use object.entries to get both the key and the value. And they will be returned as array. So you can see that this prop now is an array. Do you understand? This prop now is an array. Okay, so that is how. So with this now, I can get I can get each of the property name, person, age of this. So with this, I can work with it. So you have the keys, you have the values, and you have the entries on the object. All right. So we also have object.assign. So this would merge two objects. So if I have another object, I can say object.assign, and it will give us a shallow merge. This shallow merge is actually called shallow copying. So if I think I'll just take these guys out. Let me create another object. I will say const user is equal to, I will just say salary. I will say salary 9999. Okay, so I have another object. So if I want to create if I want to merge these two objects now, I can say const, and I can call it merge, sorry, is equal to, I will say object dot assign. So I will assign what I want to assign an object to another object. So what's the first object I want to assign? Person. So I want to assign the new user object to this person object. So if I go on and say console.log merge, you will see that now this merge object will now have everything both of them has. If I say merge, if I go, you see, if I run this merge now, it will have both the salary and the other ones. You can see. So we have merged the two objects into one object. All right, but this is called shallow copying. Okay, like I said, don't bother about deep and shallow copying right now. Don't bother about that. We also have the freeze, object.freeze. It makes, if you say object.freeze on, if you call object.freeze on any object, it means that you cannot change any of those values. So if I go on and say, object.freeze, so I do not want people to change this person object in any form. So if I come on here and say person.name is equal to James, it will throw an error. It wouldn't work. All right. If I do this, okay, sorry. Okay, so let me just go and say console.log. All right. It will not throw an error, but it will not change. So if I do this, you see, here I was after calling the freeze object, I have locked it that nobody can change the values of this object properties anymore. So even when I came here and did this, it didn't do anything. Look at it. The name value did not still change. In as much as we modified it, it didn't change because we have called the object.freeze. Like I said, these are somehow advanced. So you can also use the object.seal. Object.seal means that you cannot add or remove, but existing props can change. You see the difference. The object.freeze means that, of course, you can add or remove. Changes are not allowed at all. But the object.seal, no adding or no removing, but you can change the existing property. So I want you to experiment with object.freeze and object.seal and see the differences. Go and experiment it yourself, okay, and see the differences. So prototype, please. I will skip prototype. I am going to skip prototype, okay? All right. Okay, I'm going to skip prototype, ladies and gentlemen. It is a confusing topic. So let's talk about object references. Objects are reference types. Okay, objects are reference types. All right, so objects are reference types. We have two types of objects, two types of uh, objects in JavaScript. We have reference types and primitive types. So sorry, we have two types of data. All right, data types. We have primitive and we have reference types. So objects are reference types. So when you have something like this, let an object equal to this. All right. What we are doing here is that we are creating this value, all right, in a memory location. So when you now say, oh, okay, let me just, okay, so let me do this. Okay, so now we have the person object, okay. If I come and say, const, if I come and say, okay, if I say const user is equal to person, both of them are pointing to the same reference. I hope I will not cause confusion here. Okay, I hope I will not cause confusion here, but let me try my best. Now, this person object, all right, this value is being stored somewhere in the memory. Remember, this is a variable and this is the value. So we are storing this value in a memory location somewhere. So when you now say user is equal to person, what you're doing here is that you're assigning the reference, the memory location of person to user. That's exactly what you're doing here. So both user and person will be pointing to the same memory location. Person is pointing to a particular memory location, and you said user is equal to person. So both of them are pointing to the same. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know if I should skip this too. This is what these are the things we teach in our full JavaScript class. We take time to explain these things, and I don't like teaching you from nowhere. Before I should start mentioning reference type and all this, I should explain the identity and every other thing for you to understand. So talking about references and this thing like this, that's why I even skipped the because this is almost the same concept that we also need to use to explain um, deep and shallow copying. Okay, see what will happen. I'm going to skip this one too. If you want to understand this, drop it in the WhatsApp group so that I would also do a live class so that I will prepare the class. So there are things we need to understand. So let's leave those references. Let's leave it. Okay. Let's go let's go to arrays. So, but please, anything that I have skipped here, if you want to understand better, drop it in the WhatsApp group. Let me explain further. So I will take my time to prepare a live class so that all you guys can join. Okay. So what is an array? Array is an ordered index collection of values. The objects are unordered collection of key value pairs, but an array is an ordered. Array are ordered and they are indexed collection of values. Okay, so indexes are numeric. So array indexes are numeric. So they start from 0, 1, and above. But actually, behind the scene, under the hood, they are being stored as if they are objects. And then the indexes are going to be the keys. And then the actual value on those positions are not going to be the values. I am bringing another confusion, but it's okay. So we'll have a length property that is automatically updated whilst you're adding something to the array. So how do we create array? We also use the array literal. This is the array literal. So you use array when you want to create a list of something, a list of items, a list of books, a list of your friend's name, a list of anything. So you can see here, we are creating a list of 1, 2, 3. So let's go. This is the first one is the array literal. So let me create a new array here. So I will say const, I will say list is equal to, so this open bracket like this square bracket is what we call array literal. So if I say 1, 2, 3, so I have added values to this array literal. So if I go on now to console.log this array, okay, if I say list, it will give us, it will print it out for us. So it's an array. So, but arrays are indexed. So they are, position really matters here. The position of this 1 is 0. The position of this 2 is 1. The position of this 3 is 2. So it doesn't start from 1, 2, 3. It starts from 0, 1, 2, 3. Do you understand? So that's what we mean by indexed. So they are 0 indexed. All right. Arrays are 0 indexed collection of items. You can also create array using the new array. I can say const array is equal to new array, but I don't. So you can start adding array.push. You can now say array.push. All right. Okay, so but this is long thing. But for me, I tend to use this literal. Okay, so but you can use the new array constructor. So how do you access or modify an array? So of course, we have created an array of fruits here. In this array, we have apple, we have banana. So this is an array of string values. So if you want to access the arrays, the values, or the elements, or the items in the array, you will use their index position. So if I go on now and I want to access the first element of this array, this list that I have here, I will use the square bracket. The first element, that's the first position. The first position is 0. So I'm using the position to get the element. So I'm telling JavaScript, please give me the item that is in the first position, in the 0 position, in the 0 index of this array. So it's going to give me what? 1. So if I want to get the second item, which is in position 2, which is in position 2, but index 1, I will get 2. All right? So this is how you get. So I can still create array of, not just only numbers, I can still create array of strings. It can be anything. Okay, so that is how it works here. So in this case, we are actually accessing, we are accessing them using their index. We are accessing them using their index. So let's take a look at some of array methods. Some array methods, mutating methods. Some methods mutate indicates that it changes the value of the array, it changes the whole structure of the array. That's what we call mutating. It mutates it, so it changes. So let's take a look at the mutating methods. Push and pop are mutating. Push will add an element or an item to the end of the array, while pop will remove the item at the end of the array. So if I go on now and say, I have this list, I have said list dot push. If I add this now, all right, this will be added at the end. So if I go on now, look at it. If I go on now to print the list, you will see that the thing I pushed is not at the end. Look at it, it's not at the end. It is at the end. Okay. But if I say pop, pop will remove. Pop does not need argument. Pop will remove the last item. That's the item at the end. So it will remove this one. It will remove it entirely and return it. So if I said this, you can see it has removed it. So we have the push, we have the pop. Push will add to the end of the array, add an element to the end of the array, while pop will add while pop will remove an item at the end of the array. We also have the shift and the unshift. So they are just the opposite of the push and the pop. Shift will add, shift would add an item at the start of the array, while on shift will remove an item at the start. So if I go on now to do something here, so if I say list dot shift, okay, I'm saying shift, so I'm saying add. I will say start. I'm saying add this into the start of the array. All right. Look at the difference here. Oh my God. So I'm sorry. Shift will remove. So on shift will add. On shift, the names are just confusing. Just be careful. The names are very, very confusing. So look at what I'm doing here. I am with push. Push will add to the end, while on shift will add to the start. Sorry. So you can see that I use the on shift to add this item to the start. Look at it, it's not at the start. But if it was push will add it at the end. Look at the difference. Look at the difference. You can see now, on shift added it here, while push added it here. So shift would remove from the end, from the start, while pop will remove from the end. Okay, you see, KKK will be removed because shift will remove from the start. You see, but pop will remove from the end. In this case, if I use pop, LLL will be removed. So just be careful with it. Play around with these methods. Okay, play around with these methods. We also have the splice. Okay, now the splice is used to add items at a particular position. All right, they used to add, and this they mutate, they change the structure. Okay, so splice would reverse the whole structure. Splice would add this splice. Okay, splice would add. Okay, so let's go on. Splice would either add or remove. It will either remove or it would insert. Okay, so you give it the start index. Where do you want it to start? And then how many items do you want it to delete? And then what are the items do you want it to add? This can be very confusing. Okay, but basically you might not be using it so much, but in case you want to use it, it's still available. Okay, so let's go and do something with the splice. The reverse is just a very simple thing. So let's do reverse. So reverse will reverse their structure. Reverse will reverse their structure. So you can see that when I do reverse now, LLL will be first. You see, LLL is not the first because we have reversed it. If I say sort will sort it in ascending order. So KK, let me put another item here. I'll say A, B, C. So you are going to see that A, B, C should come first because A is first. So if I use the sort method, it will sort it alphabetically. You can see that ABC that was at the end is now at the start of it. Okay, so the splice is something I have to take time to explain this splice. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I would also push splice out again. Yes, I don't want to cause confusion. And moreover, you might not be using splice always. I can't remember using splice. All right, I don't use it often. So if you want to understand how splice will work, please, you can go to our JavaScript for beginners class. It is for free. Okay, we have it there. Go and take that JavaScript for beginners program. When we talk about arrays, we explain splice in details. Yeah, I think that's what I could do because in that program, we take time to explain things, break it down small. So you can go and, okay, I give it to you for free. Go and take the JavaScript for beginners. It's for free. You can go and study array. Go there. There is a special chapter for arrays, and you go and study. Just go and study it for free, okay? All right. So array methods that are non-mutating, that do not change the value, the structure or the items. We have the slice. The slice will return a part of it. So if I go on now and say, I want to create a slice of, like sliced bread, all right? We get a slice of that. If I create a slice, I can say slice is equal to, and then I could say list. I just want a slice of this list. I'll say list.slice, okay? It will ask me for the start. Where do I want to start the slicing from? Is it from the top or from the bottom? So the start, I want to start from position 1, and I want to end at position 3. Now, this could be confusing, so pay close attention. I said I want to start at position 1. This is the index. Remember that this KKK is in index 0, LLL is in index 1, and ABC is in index 2. So when I say I want a slice counting from index 1, so it will start from here. It will start counting from KLLL. But I said I don't want this, the end position here is exclusive. So it will not include it. All right. So if I go on now and say slice, I hope I don't get an error. Okay. You can see it gave us a slice of it from index 1 to index 3. But in this case, we don't have an index 3 here. So, but index 3 is not inclusive. Even if I have an index 3 here, if I say blah, blah, blah here, all right, if I still run this, it will give us a slice. It will not include the index 3. So start from, what we are saying here is that give us a slice of this list, start from index 1, which is this one, and end at index 3, which is this one in this case. But, okay, let me change. So this is the index 3, but the index 3 is not inclusive. Stop at index 3, but this index 3 will not be included in the slide. That is why we don't have it here. Okay, so that's the slice. Okay, there are more to this slice. So go to that our JavaScript program. All right, read the books that we recommended for you. You're going to understand more. You can also concatenate 2 arrays. If you have 2 arrays, you can use the concat method to concatenate it. So if I go on and create another array, okay, I can just create an array here. I can say 1, 2, 3, 4. So I can come and say, I want to concatenate this slice dot concat. I want to concat it with list. So this is, look at what it's going to give us. It will give us a copy of everything. So you can see it gave us 1, 2, 3, 4, KK. You can see it put everything in one array. So we were able to get one array like this. Okay. Play around with it. Play around with it. We have the map, the filter, and the reduce methods. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to refer you to that our JavaScript program, that course. We explain all these things in details. This can be, we don't have enough time to explain it here, so they can be confusing. All right. So go and take that. That course is for free. That JavaScript for beginners is for free. So go and take it. You go and study the array. You would get to understand the map, the filter, and the reduce. I explain everything there. So we also have the find and the find index. Okay. So these are non-mutating. So they don't change the structure of the, we have the every, we have the sum. So I'm not going to explain them here. Please, we explain all these methods extensively in that JavaScript course. Go and take it, it's free of charge. So you can also iterate. You can use the for each, or you can use the for of. All right, so let's do this iteration. I believe this could be, so if let's assume I have this array. If I want to iterate over this array, I can use the for loop, but the for loop will be a long thing. So I can use the for each loop, the first one. I can say list dot for each. So for each, this for each will take in a callback function. It's going to take a function, and anything I put inside of this function it will run it for every element, every item in this list. So I'm going to use an arrow function. I believe I explained what an arrow function is in the other class. And then I'm going to say console.log. I hope I am not going to confuse you guys. So I will say, now, it will give, the value will be here. So I will say value. And then when I do console.log value, I just hope, guys, I wouldn't confuse you, please. Okay. So, well, oh, sorry. Oh, my God. My console.log is wrong. Sorry. Okay. All right, you can see it has looped through every item. So the thing is that with the for each loop, JavaScript would add for each of these lists, for each of these elements in this list, it will take them one by one and put them inside of this value. Then we will have access to it and do whatever we want to do with it here. We also have another one, and the for of. I think I mentioned this, let value of list. So you can do whatever you want to do with it. Okay. That's one thing with boot camps. We are just in a hurry to teach. So you can see we got it 2 times. Okay. I can separate them with something like this. So if I do this, okay, you can see this is the first for, this is for the for each, and this is for the for of. Okay. Okay, so we also have something we call sparse array that do not have anything inside. What has, I don't even know why I added this thing in this class. Okay, let me just explain it. Here we are creating an empty array. And we are coming here and we are saying that we want to modify this array, and the index 5 we want to add high. So let me just go and write it in code here so that I'll show you. So let me just say const empty. Let me go with empty array. This is an empty array. And now I am saying empty. I want to modify, I want to add an item into this list. And now instead of starting from 0, I'm starting from 5. Look at what is going to happen. If I say 5, if I go on and console this array, it's going to be, look at what we are going to get. I don't even know why I added this thing here, but it's already here. So if I go on, look at what we got. We got, okay, so it didn't really give us what we want. So let's loop through it. We are going to have an empty an empty array. Okay, it's an empty array. I don't know. There's no need of talking about this, please. Okay, sorry. There's no need talking about it. It's going to bring more confusion because we need time to explain some things here. I don't even know why I added it. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I don't even know why I added it. So we have multidimensional arrays. I don't think I'll be talking about it too. So please go to that our array program. All right. Multidimensional arrays, that an array can contain another array. Okay, let me just talk about it. So you can see that. Okay, let's just talk about it. Okay. So we have an array. A multidimensional array, we say const multi is equal to array like this. So, but the elements are going to be in turn arrays. 1, 2, 3, comma. All right. Another array. So the elements are arrays on their own. 4, 5, 6, comma. So the items of an array can be anything, it can be objects, it can be arrays. So in this case, we are having arrays of arrays. 7, 8, 9. So we are having arrays of arrays. If I go on and print, multi, we are going to have arrays of arrays. So you can see that we have arrays of arrays. This is the first array. No, this is the enclosing array, and these are called nested arrays. So this is the first array, this is the second array, and this is the third array inside of it. Okay. So, and if you want to access them, you can actually access them using their indices. So if I want to access the first item here, I'll use 0, right? That's the first index. So it will give me this guy, which is the first item here. All right. So if I go on and you say to give me this guy, 1, 2, 3, that's the first item, but it's an array. But since this is this is an array, I can also go further to search for its internal items too. I can say, give me the first array of this other array. So to give me what? 1. If I say give me 2, the second item, it will give me this. So if I want to go for the second, now you can see, because I'm using the first index, which is 0, I'm accessing the first item. If I want to access the second item, I will go with index 1. So index 1 will give me this one. Then index 1 of this will give me 4. So if I go on and run this, we'll get 4. We'll get 5. Sorry. 4 is the index 0. So 5 is index 1. Okay. So arrays can behave like objects too. But I would have to skip these guys. I wouldn't want to confuse you anymore. I would want to skip this. But take note of everything you see I'm skipping here. Take note of them. If you want me to explain, I wouldn't want to confuse you, because most times you don't need this. You don't need this. So arrays like objects, you want me to explain, I will explain it. Objects and array interactions. Interaction, I would also explain if you want me to do that, but I'm going to skip it. Okay, I'm going to skip it. So I will be ending the class here. Yes, I will be ending the class here. So maybe let's take a look at common pitfalls, mutating shared references. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be ending the class here. But look at the things that you could want me to explain further to you. All right, look at the things you could want me to explain further to you. Take note of them so that I can do it on a personal basis, so that I wouldn't be confusing other people. Basically, these are the few things you need to understand about array. And I have already given you, go to the JavaScript for beginner. We took time to explain all these things to in a way you can understand it better. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I will see you in the next class.